Last time, Sora basically came on Takeshi all of a sudden and made an appointment with him to explain to him how branching timeline games work. The conversation was similar to you explaining to the kid about what the third eye meant. However, there was a couple differences. One is Sora made a big deal about the idea of branching timelines, where, as you just said, it allows you the third eye allows you to see 4D, so allows you to see time all at once. Whereas, yeah, Sora made it all about branching and splitting, saying that we just made a choice that caused the split, caused the branch, and I'll keep that in mind for later. Another difference is that you said that her mother wrote a lot of papers trying to link Lemuria to the third eye, so that she could investigate the third eye under the guise of researching Lemuria. Whereas Sora, she never mentioned the term third eye. Even though she kind of talked about the same ideas, she never said third eye. But once she was done explaining to Takeshi about branching timelines, she said it's a legend from Lemuria. So then she also linked it, sort of in a way, linked the third eye to Lemuria as well. So Yu was very dismissive of that linking, and just saw her mother was just doing it as an excuse to research the third eye. It was very dismissive of her papers, but Sora may not be. Yeah, and a lot of the language at the beginning of the thing was language you usually would use, is kind of like hangs around God. A lot of the imagery surrounding Sora is to make her kind of like a deity. Like when she appears in front of the kid, Sora, and you when they're trying to hack into Lamia, it's like an angel and like one coming in wrath. And she uses languages like I am omnipresent, and oftentimes, and language that talks about seeing like time, like seeing all time at once, kind of being outside of time. Also makes me think of God. Now I don't know if that's really intentional because her discussion was she sort of parlayed that into a discussion about just like branching timeline games and how they work. I was kind of noticing a lot of God stuff surrounding Sora and the way she's depicted, as well as a bunch of machine trying to become human cliche stuff as well. Also, we talked to Tsugumi, and we said, "I'm sorry," and Tsugumi said, "How dare you insult my angst? I did that because I wanted to die." It's like she's like too stuck up to like admit that anything is gonna happen to her that she didn't want to, and that Takeshi could have possibly saved her from anything. It's like if I was in trouble, then I must have wanted to be, right? It's like either taking just angsty to the extreme or just taking tsundere to an extreme. Now Takeshi's an idiot and just got mad at her and stormed off. But that's because Takeshi is an idiot, and I can't stand anything he does. But of course, if I heard something like that, that would spark out of me a lot of unnecessary words, perhaps, because I'd be like, "Oh, really? Are you trying to kind of trying to like get your angst badge? Or are you trying to like really trying hard? Is this like a pride?" I'd be like, "Is this like a big pride thing you have here? Yeah, is this like you need to earn your angst badge too?" Anyway. And I wouldn't really believe her, right? It'd be like, "No, you didn't want to die. I don't know what you're saying. People don't, if you want to die, that would imply that you intentionally fixed the pipes wrong so that they would backlog. And you are counting on, would you believe that Tsugumi actually intentionally misfixed the pipes? If you did, that would mean that maybe if we go back and move the pipes wrong, that it spoils Tsugumi's plan, she doesn't get injured. But anyway, that would also have to bank on Takeshi bringing the boxes down. And they would also have to bank on Coco being in danger so that when she dove underneath the falling debris, it would look like she was trying to save Coco. So, anyway, it's just not really, her words aren't really consistent with her actions. And Takeshi didn't really seem to have that reaction. Instead, his reaction was like, you're a jerk. Anyway, it's like, don't take things so hard. I haven't looked at the clear list since last time, so I'm going to look at it and see if we actually did get funneled into a Sora route. And if so, whether that's the first route listed in the order. Up to getting close to half the scenes. Getting close to half the pass. Really low here. Oh, we are still on main Takeshi. Huh. Okay. Yeah, Sora is rainbow. It's another thing where it's like Sora was like depicted as bringing down the rain. Anyway, so we are not branch differentiated yet. That's interesting because that's not surprising because we hadn't gone through as many scenes as we went through as the kid before branch differentiating. But it is surprising that there's been so much like concentration of Sora scenes and it hasn't branch differentiated. Maybe it has. It did. Maybe it like has. It's just that there's common scene names still. Okay, let's go dig into this text some more. We were talking to Sora about what love means. Sora, what do you think of my explanation? Well, I'll tell you what I think about your explanation. It was meh. I might have borrowed bits and pieces from elsewhere, but I don't think it is all wrong. No, actually I believe it is right. Did you understand what I said, Sora? Sora nodded silently. Sora is not impressed.
バラは咲くために生まれた。
Roses are born to blossom.
カナリアは歌うために生まれた。
Canaries are born to sing.
人は恋するために生まれた。
Humans are born to love.
そう考えるのはとても素敵なことですね。
I think that is a beautiful way of thinking. It's also very platonic. I was trying to create a form of platitude as like an adjective, but it came out as a word that means non-erotic. English is hard, people. Sorry. The smile appeared on her lips.
もしバラに意識があるとしても、バラ自身は咲くために生きているとは思っていないでしょう。
However, even if a rose is born to bloom, I don't believe that a rose knows this. Yes, because a rose does not have a framework does not have a structure with which it can retain information.
もしカナリアに意識があるとしても、カナリア自身は歌うために生きているとは思っていないでしょう。
I don't believe a canary believes its purpose to sing. That's a complicated one.
けれど人間から見れば、バラの生命の目的は咲くことにのみ存在するかのごとく思えるし、
But from the eyes of a human, it might appear that the only purpose of a rose is to blossom. That's a really hard question.
カナリアの一生の目的は美しく歌うことにのみ存在するように思えてしまう。
I mean, if you disregard God for a second, which is really hard to do, actually it might be impossible, but anyway, then you would say the rose has no purpose. Okay, they can't really go there. But if you tried to make something that was as much like a purpose as you could think of for the rose, it would be to make more roses. And in order to do that, it would be to blossom. So yes, we would say that the purpose of the rose is to blossom. Or at least the most of a purpose we could give it. If we could consider God, we say, okay, the purpose of the rose is to be something that demonstrates the glory of God. In its everything it does, in its blossoming and its making more roses. However impressive a rose is. I never really was impressed very much by plants, but whatever. I kind of like took them for granted. It's like there it is. It just exists. This person behind this microphone doesn't really seem to have much of a sense of wonder.
きっと人間も同じなんですね。
It appears that humans are probably the same.
多くの人は自分が恋するために生きているとは思っていないでしょう。
I imagine that many people don't believe that they are living for the purpose of loving.
けれど私から見れば
But from my perspective,
人は恋するためにただそれだけのために生きているように思えます。
I believe they are mistaken. It would seem to me that people only live to love.
そういうことなのかもしれません。
It would be that is how things are. Not completely wrong. The movements of the dolphins gradually began to slow. The music faded to a stop as the dolphin carousel continued to slow. Oh, is this it? Yep, the scene ends here. I dismounted the dolphin and stood on the carousel. I wish I could have ridden just a little bit longer. But that was fun. Let's come ride these dolphins again sometime. That was a pretty deep conversation we just had, Sora. You don't want to flag post your deep stuff, just like you don't want to flag post your jokes. So what I mean by flag posting your jokes is when you do like make a pun, you're like, huh, huh, huh. Like, if you make a pun, just continue on to the next thing you would say as if that was what you just made was just a normal sentence. Sora was still riding her dolphin, not moving. What's wrong, Sora? Sora looked up absently. But there was nothing in the air where she was looking. Only the sprawling dome-like ceiling of the dolphin carousel extended in all directions. Sora.
ねえ倉成さん、
Hey, Takeshi. Sora was looking up into the empty sky.
私は何のために生まれてきたのでしょうか。
Why was I created? To entertain people, essentially. To show off that you could be created. Which is kind of why a rose was created.
私が生きていることの目的は一体何なのでしょう。
What is my purpose? As the music stopped, the room was quiet. Different colored lights played off at the merry-go-round. The lights reflected a hint of sadness off of Sora's face.
いえ、
I was just
ちょっと聞いてみたかっただけです。
curious about it. Sora laughed as if nothing had happened, got off of her dolphin, and came and stood next to me. I didn't know what to say. What was her purpose? At that point, I just couldn't find an answer to that question. All I could do was turn my back to the dolphins and head towards the dark exit. Only the upper management of Lieblich knows, I guess. As I did, I looked to the ceiling. And there was no sky. It was really hard to wake up after you've gone back to sleep. And when I couldn't get up, I'd get irritated. The reason I couldn't sleep was beyond me. I probably can't sleep because I'm so caught up in not being able to sleep. A vicious cycle. Man, this is really bad. I was still groggy, but thankfully I wasn't so sleepy it was driving me crazy. I opened and closed my hand. My body seemed to be in pretty good shape. But I didn't get to brush my teeth for the last 4 days, so I had some plaque buildup. I shook my head a little. I slapped my cheeks. Then I breathed in a deep rush of cold air, breathed it out, and gradually cleared my head. Mustering up my strength, I jumped out of bed. I put the voice alternator back in my ears. About time I started cooking breakfast for you all. But when I looked around, no one's here! The conference room was empty. Hold up, what time is it? I checked my PDA display anxiously. It was just shy of 9 a.m.
遅い。
You are so late. You was standing guard in front of the kiosk. The kid, Coco, and Pee-Pee were sitting waiting.
遅い遅い遅い遅い
Late, 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 late.
たるんでるぞクラナリ
Takeshi, you're a total mess. Your cheeks looked a little swollen. Sorry, my bad.
もう待ちくたびれたぞ
We've been waiting forever.
お腹減ったぞ
I'm starving.
やだわこれで本当にお腹と背中がくっついてしまったらクラナリのせいなんだわ
Look, if my belly actually sticks to my spine, I'm holding you personally responsible.
お神よ
Dear Lord,
お腹と背中がくっついて平べったくなってそよ風に乗ってインド洋の向こうまで飛んでいく私の不幸をお許しください
remember me when I waste away to almost nothing and am blown by the wind across the Pacific. You're worried about being blown away by the wind? I think it'd probably take a hurricane to carry you off.
さりげなくひどいこと言ってないクラナリ
You're a real gentleman, Takeshi. Your shoulders sagged for some reason. I can't believe you guys haven't eaten yet. I looked around at them.
ああそれがね
Well, you see,
挑戦してはみたんだけど
we did try.
少しチャレンジャーすぎたというかね
I say we tried a little too hard. Woof. They looked at one another with a mix of conflicting expressions. This was not answered in the kids' route. I cocked my head quizzically at them, or at least I don't remember it being answered. I cocked my head quizzically at them and went around into the kiosk kitchen. What's going on here? There was an impossibly delicious smell. And a blackened, charred piece of fried tuna. Red, black, green, everything was splattered with mysterious fluid. The sandwich buns were colored and sticky. The lettuce that normally went into the chicken sandwiches had been diced. I've never seen such a shocking kitchen. What on earth happened here? Coco Sprite.
ちょっと手分けしてみんなで作ってみました
We tried dividing up the work.
タケピョンも食べよ食べてみよ
Hey, Takepyon, why don't you try some too? Hey, wait. Is this food? You can actually eat this? Yup. Hey kid, you serious?
一応
Well, sort of. Sort of. Okay, they're continuing this whole not food thing from, like, Yuka and Ever17. Like, continuing over this, like, I don't know, recurring small scene.
美味しいかどうかは
I don't know if it'll taste good, but, I mean, yeah, you can eat diced lettuce by itself. It tastes like water, but crunchier. Why did you stop talking?
まあまあ固いこと言わないの
No, let's not be critical. Apparently, there have been a number of reasons why I was in charge of cooking.
てなわけで
Alright then,
食後の休憩といきますか
time for a post-meal break? They all trooped over to the rest area. I had safely finished eating, but my stomach was still growling. Would I be okay? Doing the dishes was an unpleasant job, but with everyone's cooperation, we got the ordeal over and done with.
ねえねえタケピョン
Hey, Takepyon.
つぐみんの分のサンド届けておいたよ
I took Tsugumi's sandwich over to her. Oh, thanks. I patted Coco's head. Before I tackled the cleanup, I had picked up some decent sandwiches and had Coco take them over. Yeah, if you just had a surgery, which we don't know really the details of Tsugumi's, they instruct you to eat a lot. And while it's at the same time being hard to eat a lot because you just had a surgery and counterintuitive, depending on what kind of surgery you've had. Whether the still recovering Tsugumi would actually eat them was another story. Hey, Coco, was Tsugumi eating alright? Also, swallowing laying down is kind of weird. It's definitely physically possible. You can actually swallow upside down, but it feels like you're being waterboarded if you try. Anyway, to me, it feels really like spooky.
なんかね、すごくお腹減ったって言ってた。3個くらい食べてたよ。
Yeah, she said she was really hungry. I think she ate 3. And we still have hints from you that something went wrong with her, like, artery, or, like, they haven't mentioned, like, screws in her femur, but, like, something went wrong with something, right? And we still don't know what it is. Maybe it's not something that went wrong, but something unexpected. Well, I guess she's gotten well enough to eat then.
つぐみ、早く元気になりそうだね。
Do they have bedpans? She's getting better pretty fast, don't you think? Yeah. That Tsugumi. The night before, she'd said she wanted to die. Tsugumi was probably always just pretending to be tough. Distancing people by saying awful things was one of her bad habits. If she were eating properly, it must be proof that she wanted to live. As long as she recovered completely, there would be no more problems. Hey, it's a good thing. I felt my chest relax in relief.
なんかほっとした顔してるね、タケピョン。
You just got a happy look on your face, Take-pyon. Oh, really?
つぐみんのこと、すっごく心配だったんだよね。
You're really worried about Tsugumi-senpai, huh? Feeling so transparent made me want to conceal the truth. No, it's not that. I was just thinking about those sandwiches. They're pretty good, after all.
ほんと？
Wow, really?
そっか、よかった。
Oh, good.
タケピョンのサンド、実はココが作ったのだぴょ
Actually, I made your sandwich all by my very own self.
ーん。ふんふんふん。あれはね、
Hey, you see,
秘伝のソースがたっぷりかかっているのだぴょろ
I use a lot of my secret sauce.
ーん。マヨネーズとマスタードとカニ味噌と練りわさび。
Is this going to be the same list of things that... Oh, yeah, it's going to show that it really does taste good. It's the same list of things that Takeshi put in Tsugumi's sandwich in The Kids Are Out. And then Tsugumi said it tasted like pizza. I doubt it tastes like pizza. Mayo, mustard, so just like spicy mayo, horseradish, really spicy mayo.
それから竜田揚げには塩コショウして醤油ちびっと垂らしてバターたっぷり塗って
And then some salt and pepper, a dab of soy sauce, and lots of butter.
焼けたらシナモンとカルダモンとターメリックとナツメグとバニラエッセンスを混ぜ混ぜして振りかけて
And when it was done, cinnamon and cardamom and turmeric and nutmeg and vanilla all shaken together and poured.
それからなんだっけ
And then what was it again?
七味とカレー粉とラー油となんかピピが見つけてきたチューブを適当にぬりぬりして
Spice and curry and hot sauce and some tube of something Pee found. We used lots of that.
そこにすかさずレタスの千切りを間に挟む
Then we stuck the lettuce in between.
合成っしょなかなか見た目も綺麗だったっしょ
Magnificent, right? And pretty too.
ここ味見しなかったからちょこっとドキドキもんだったんだけど
Well, if I hadn't tasted it, I might have been scared off.
そっかあれ美味しかったんだ
Oh, you mean it tasted okay?
じゃあ次の食事もココが作ろっかないいかな
Maybe I should make the next meal too. What did I just eat? Nah, you don't have to do that. I'll keep doing the cooking. Just listening to her was making my gut ache. Gathering my wits, I went to the bench where you and the kid were sitting. Coco and Pee-Pee trotted along behind me.
ねえ、ユウ。空はどこに行ったの？
Hey, you, where did Sora go?
何か脱出の手がかりがないかどうか、もう一度調べてくるって言ってた。
She went to go look again to see if she can find some clue to help us escape. Little did you know that Sora has been doing a lot of not that.
3階のセンサーの反応が少しマシになったらしいから。
From what she said, the sensors on the third floor are working a little bit better.
ふーん。
Did you see Sora, you? I cut in front of them.
倉成が売店に来る前に少しね。
Oh yeah, for a minute before you came to the kiosk. I see. Did Sora say anything else? Did she seem different somehow?
別に普段通りだったよ。
No, not really. Same as always. Okay. Well, that's good.
倉成、空に何かしたの？
Takeshi, did you do something to her? No, nothing.
なんか怪しい。ならいいんだけど、なんて言っちゃってさ。
You're acting pretty suspicious. Why'd you say, well, that's good?
ま、チクチク追求するほど、あたしゃ野暮じゃございませんけどね。
Not that I'm the type to hound you with questions or anything.
で、実際どうなんですか、倉成さん。
So, what's the story, my dear Mr. Takeshi? Her face laughed and pretended to hold a mic to my face.
今のお気持ちは？
Can you tell me how you're feeling right now? I don't care what happens, I'm not talking to you.
へいへい。以上、レポーターの田中がお送りしました。と。
The reporter Yu Tanaka reporting live. She withdrew her invisible mic.
あ、そういえば。
Hey, that reminds me. The kid muttered, glancing at me.
たけし、夜中に部屋を抜け出してたみたいだよ。
Apparently, Takeshi sneaked out of his room in the middle of the night. Takeshi doesn't have a room.
お、地上筋から有力な発言。
Oh, relevant circumstantial evidence. This time the invisible mic was pointed at the kid.
散歩かなと思ったんだけど。
I thought maybe you were sleepwalking.
たけし、非常階段を走って登っていったから。
But you ran up the emergency stairs, so...
僕はその後すぐ寝ちゃったんだけど、ちょっと気になってたんだ。
I went to sleep right after that, but it's been bothering me.
というわけらしいけど、どうなの、倉成？
What do you have to say for yourself, Mr. Takeshi?
言いたくなければ別に構わないと思うけど。
If you don't want to talk about it, don't worry.
何の話？面白い話？
What? Are you talking about something fun? Woof woof. All their eyes are fixed on me. Bathed in their attention, there is no way for me to escape the mic. All right, I'll confess. I went to the bathroom. Let's keep Sora's secret. I just went to the bathroom.
なんで間を置いてから走っていったの？
Why'd you wait and then run off? At a certain point, it got pretty urgent.
結構長い時間かかってたみたいだけど。
You were gone an awfully long time. Look, sometimes it takes a long time.
わざわざ階段上がっていったの？
Why'd you go all the way upstairs? Well, I like the upstairs toilet better. The one in the back, the color, the shape, the way it feels when you sit down. Let's not get into the details, kid.
痛っ。
Ouch. I cuffed him
わか
on
っ
the
た
head.
よ。
All right.
そうだよ。プライバシーの侵害だぞ。
Yeah, that's an invasion of privacy. Listen, you're the one that started this with your whole reporter act.
あれ？そうだっけ？
Who, me? She stuck out her tongue. No one seemed inclined to question me further, so that solved that. Everyone milled around the rest area. I felt the urgent energy drain out of me. I wasn't tense, but I wasn't relaxed either. Maybe I was just tired. I sat quietly thinking. When I couldn't sleep, I had been pondering all sorts of things about Tsugumi and Sora. Sora made me think about all kinds of questions. I mean, it could have been Tsugumi instead of Sora, right? If we would have not gone with Sora when Sora prompted to go with her, we could have visited Tsugumi in the middle of the night instead. So both of those could have been we could have crossed the answers and things like that. What was love? What were people? What was the meaning of life? What was she herself? She was more worried about things than I was. I didn't know the answers. The stress of so many unknowns was starting to get to me.
で、あるからして。
Which is why, hearing Yu's voice, I returned to Earth with a jolt.
ギリシャには多くの神々の物語が伝わっているわけです。
So many Greek myths have been handed down to us. Yu was standing in the middle of the room, apparently giving a lecture. The kid, Coco, and Pee-Pee were sitting on the benches, listening obediently. I ended up listening myself.
そうそう。ほら、そこんとこに石像がありますね。なかなかどうして芸術的な一品ですが。
You see that statue over there? It's rather a lovely piece. She turned around and pointed at the statue in a corner of the rest area.
美しい彫像とその作者の愛。それにちなんだ物語を私めが語ってみせましょう。
The beautiful statue and the sculptor who loved her all tell you their story.
お、本。
Ahem. This seems like a piece of dialogue where it's kind of irrelevant, but if you make some different choices earlier in the game, it gets replaced with something more relevant. She gave a melodramatic cough. Then she turned back to the group and began gesturing and talking.
昔々、キプロスというところに彫刻家の青年がいました。
Once upon a time in a place called Cyprus, there was a young sculptor.
彼は名をピグマリオンと言います。彼はキプロスの王とも呼ばれているけど、
His name was Pygmalion. He was named the king of Cyprus.
神話の世界では偉い人のことをみんな王様や神様にしちゃうから、それはひとまず置いといて。
But in these myths, they tend to call anyone a king or a god, so we won't go there for a bit.
とにかくピグマリオンって優秀な彫刻家がいたの。
Anyway, there was an excellent sculptor named Pygmalion, and then,
ピグマリオン。彼の彫刻は素晴らしい。生命力にあふれ、今にも動き出しそうな迫力だって巷で評判だったのね。
I'm actually going to Google this. So, Pygmalion. Oh, Chrome got updated. That's... Oh, it's a play. Okay. Oh, so this is a thing. Sculptor who fell in love with his statue. Cool. Okay.
ただピグマリオンにはちょっと女性不信気味なところがあって、
But Pygmalion couldn't seem to get interested in ladies.
周りの人々はあのような素晴らしい才能を持った彼がなぜ妻をめとることができないのかと首をかしげるんだけど、
You might want to look this up for yourself afterward, because we know from other routes in this game that Yu tends to be not 100% accurate with her details on things. The people around him wondered why a brilliant sculptor like him couldn't land a wife.
若きピグマリオンは自分の彫刻作品を仕上げることにしか興味を持てなかったみたい。
But Pygmalion seemed only to care about making his statues.
そんなある日、彼は女性の裸体の彫像を一つ完成させたの。
Then one day he finished the nude figure of a woman.
これがまた惚れ惚れするような会心の出来栄えで最高傑作と呼ばれるだろうと彼自身思ったのね。
It was a wonderful piece, absolutely charming, and even he himself thought it might be his ultimate masterpiece.
だけど
But it was, well, still made of stone.
その自分でもうっとりするようなまるで生きているような美しい彫像を眺めているうちに
As he looked on her beautiful, almost living face,
ピグマリオンはその彼女の像が裸であることを急に恥ずかしく感じるようになったの。
he realized that she was naked and became embarrassed.
彼は彼女のために服を持ってきて着せた。
He brought clothes for her and dressed her. It's hard to dress a statue because unlike humans, if you were to make a perfectly proportional statue with proportional ankles, they tend to not be sufficient, to be enough material there to support the weight of the statue. That's why Michelangelo's David has like a little piece of like tree or something, like a stick on one of the ankles to help give it more structure to the ankle, right? Because otherwise it wouldn't be able to stay up. Or it's kind of like a common trick with sculpture. I think the discus thrower probably has something like that too, as like something in the background holding it up. Let me look at the discus thrower here. Sculpture. Yeah, there's like a little piece of something in the statue, so it's just not standing on its own legs. So because of that, the legs, there tends to be this extra connection in the statue. The legs tend to be connected together on a base, and so you can't, or one or the other. I guess you could have one of the legs not connected. You just have like a really big support. It makes it hard to dress the statue. But anyway, it's just a Greek myth.
それだけじゃなく日が経つにつれてピグマリオンはあまりにも彼女のことが愛おしくなってしまって
And when it got dark, he was so besotted with her that
彼女に食べ物をあげようとしたり話しかけたり夜は一緒に眠るようになって
he brought her food to eat, talked to her, and even slept next to her. Well, I don't know if I should bring this up for that. I believe this kind of thing has not been relegated purely to myth.
きっと彼は初めて本当に純粋に恋をしたのね
It was the first time he had ever experienced true love. Oh, so I guess this is relevant.
自分の作った彫像に
Love for the statue he himself had created.
ピグマリオンは自分の持てる愛情のすべてを彼女に注いだ彼女がいつか自分に語りかけてくれると信じて
He poured all the love that he had into her. He believed that one day she would speak to him.
けれど仕事を忘れ毎日寝食を惜しんで彼女に尽くしたピグマリオンの体はだんだんにやつれていった
In the meantime, he neglected his work. He forgot to eat and sleep, and Pygmalion began to waste away.
このままでは彫刻家ピグマリオンは死んでしまうのではないか人々は心配して神に祈りを捧げた
People began to worry that he would die, so they prayed to the gods.
またピグマリオン自らも思い悩んでいた
And Pygmalion was agonizing as well.
体を動かせず物を言えず食べることも眠ることもできないこの彼女の姿があまりにも悲しい
He was so sad to see her unable to speak or eat or sleep.
もしもこの私ピグマリオンが年老いて天に召されるとき
He thought that when he himself became old and went to heaven, did the Greeks think there was a heaven?
彼女はここに立ち尽くしたまま残され朽ちるのを待つばかりとなるのだろうか
He would have to continue standing there, just waiting to decay.
それは嫌だ
To him, it was unthinkable.
彼女と添い遂げられないのなら我が身を崖から投げ落としてしまった方が
couldn't be bound to her. It would be better to throw himself off a cliff.
彼女が血の通った人間であったらどんなにいいだろうか
If only she was a real woman with blood running through her veins.
とまあそんな風に
If you haven't picked up on this yet, it's supposed to be like Sora.
するとこの彼の祈りは天にいる愛の女神アフロディーテに届いた
Until his prayers reached Aphrodite, the goddess of love.
女神アフロディーテはピグマリオンの前に舞い降りて彼に祈りを込め彼女に口づけするように告げた
Aphrodite came down to him and told him to kiss his beloved statue.
ピグマリオンが彼女の彫像にそっとキスすると
But he gently kissed her.
彼女の方にみるみる赤みがさしてその目はゆっくりに開かれ彼女は艶やかな肌を持った乙女へと姿を変えたの
Her skin flushed pink, her eyes opened, and she turned into a living woman.
彫像の美しさそのままの人間の乙女に
A woman as beautiful as the statue had been.
そしてピグマリオンは彼女と結婚し子供まで設けました
So they married and even had children.
彼はそれまで以上に素晴らしい彫像を世界中の神殿のために作って過ごしましたとさ
He kept making even more beautiful sculptures for temples around the world, and they lived. And this is where you go, wait a second, you. This is a Greek myth. Greek myths don't end well. They usually have terrible, tragic endings. So what did you modify here?
めでたしめでたし
Happily ever after. Except, no. Finally, I may or may not look up the real story, but it probably does not end happy. Just guessing. Finally finished with her long story, you pinched her skirt and curtsied. Coco and the kid applauded her.
なかなか面白かったよ。
Hey, that was pretty interesting.
ブラーバブラーバブラビッシ
Bravo, bravo, bravissima. Because somehow Coco knows Italian. As for me... Huh. This is what I'm thinking. It probably did not end well. So I'm going to pick the first choice. Like this, assuming this is sarcastic, which I would assume it is. Right, happily ever after. I floated with them. Oh, it wasn't sarcastic. Okay, well, Fooey. Never knew you knew so much, you.
えへん
Well... She drew up proudly.
こういう神話民話逸話関係はそれなりに詳しいのよね私
I know a little about myth and folklore. She raised a finger in front of her face, looking demure.
このピグマリオンの話はね
Story of Pygmalion.
望んで願い努力を怠らなければそれは叶うというそのことを言い表してるのよ
Shows that if you hope and ask and preserve, your wish will come true. Wait, is this going to segue into Curé syndrome?
魂込めて作った彫像を本気で愛しいつか言葉を返してくれると信じたからこそピグマリオンの願いは叶ったんだから
His longing was answered because he put his heart into his sculpture and then loved her, believing that she would speak to him one day. So we're going to believe that we can make Sora into a living woman, and then she becomes that way because we believed we could make her that way. Is it really going to do that? I mean, in the universe of Never17, that would have been possible. Although nothing extreme actually did happen in Never17. It would have been possible according to the rules of that world.
そうなんだ。
So that's it.
おへー
Wow.
ちょっと話は変わるけどローゼンタールという人が唱えたピグマリオン効果というのがあって
Okay, this is a little different, but this guy named Rosenthal wrote something called the Pygmalion effect. Yeah, that came up when I googled Pygmalion. In fact, it came up before the Greek myth did. She was acting like a professor on Soapbox. It seemed like she was overdoing the whole thing. But her ridiculous expressions were so amusing, I got drawn in.
プラシーボ効果というのはそれとちょっと意味合いが違ってて、
It's not quite the same as the placebo effect? Question mark.
どちらにせよそうであると信じることが重要になるのであって。
I already know that this dialogue, there's typos in this where they accidentally like insert extra question marks. But both of them involve believing in something.
つまり私たちのサバイバリティにも関係してるわけであり、
So they both have to do with our chances of survival.
寿司桶に入っているバランがビニール製だからといってその寿司が安物だと言い切ることはできないはずなのよ。
Just because the sushi in the display case is made of plastic doesn't mean the sushi inside is cheap.
ああ
Whoa.
なるほど。
Wow. Why is the kid's character so much different? Like, in the Takeshis are out. Like, he's just generic, like, nothing. Her talks seem to have been derailed like a nasty train wreck. I had no idea what she meant. But the kid and Coco were a rapt audience. Well, she meant that just because the sushi's made of plastic doesn't mean it's not expensive. What about that do you not get, Takeshi? Several minutes later. Sometime during Yu's long speech, my brain started working again. We all headed to the emergency stairs to the second floor.
みんなでつぐみに会いに行こっか。
Should we all go see Tsugumi and annoy the bejesus out of her? Yes.
そうだね。僕もつぐみがどうしてるか知りたいし。
Yeah, I'd like to know how she's doing.
私も。じゃあお見舞いってことでちょっと様子見に行きますか。
Me too. Let's all go check up on her. Coco's proposal came out of the blue, but everyone agreed and headed upstairs.
倉成は夜つぐみが目を覚ました時にもう会ってるんだっけ。
Takeshi, didn't you already see Tsugumi when she woke up last night? Well, yeah. Being asked forced me to remember that night before. Well, you already did it like a couple scenes ago. Or maybe even on the same scene. Tsugumi saying, I want to die. But then she'd eaten 3 sandwiches. And nobody who eats 3 sandwiches wants to die. If she would just recover... Wait up, you knew that I'd seen Tsugumi. I mean, she told Coco, maybe Coco told you. Have you ever heard of a last meal, Takeshi? I mean, even if you want to die, food still tastes good. Except usually last meals are not for people who want to die, but whatever. Yep.
今朝ね、空からちょっとだけ聞いたよ。つぐみの容態と慌てふためいた倉成の走りっぷりをね。
I heard from Sora this morning about Tsugumi's condition and your panicked running.
少年が言ってた夜の非常階段ダッシュ。その理由はつぐみなんでしょ？
That midnight emergency staircase dash the kid was talking about, it was Tsugumi, right? Technically, let's see here. I guess? Alright, you listen here. A minute ago, you were pretending to be a reporter trying to get me to tell you. Why do you ask about something you already know?
あら、いつまでも誤解を招くような態度をとっているあなたが悪いのでございますのことよ。
It's because the gamer is trying to give you a bunch of personality. It's your fault for trying to be so mysterious, hee. You little... I hated to admit it, but she had taken me for a ride. And I had no comeback. So, how do you think Tsugumi's doing? Aren't you worried about her?
あ、なんかごまかしてるわよ、この男。
Just try to change the subject. Shut up, you know something, say it already.
救護室の医療用コンピューターのデータはレミが常に監視してるはずだから。
Well, Lemay is always guarding the infirmary's medical computer data. And there's like, HIPAA, except this is Japan, so I don't know if there's something like HIPAA in Japan.
そのレミが何も報告してこないってことは、つぐみはちゃんとおとなしく寝てるんじゃない？
I heard from somebody that HIPAA was apparently motivated by AIDS. Don't know if that's true, though. Might be kind of a political far out thing. Anyway, since Lemay hasn't come come to us with any news, it must mean that Tsugumi's sleeping peacefully, right? Well, that's a relief. I'm probably going to get shocked or surprised at something out of the blue right here. I'm going to walk into there and Tsugumi's going to be just gone or something. or something more weird. Looks like Sora in the cast instead. We reached the infirmary.
花束でも持ってくればよかったかな。
We should have brought flowers. For Tsugumi, no. And where do you think you'd find flowers?
ま、それもそうだね。
Oh, that's right. Well, there are flowers in the recreation room. That was a whole scene about that. Entering first, I muttered a cheerful voice. Hey, Tsugumi. Could you just, not say things and just walk in? I mean, you alive? I had to force them, but I dragged everyone along to see you. What is you? What? I don't like this guy so much. Pop. Ow.
ちょっと倉なり、そういうトゲのある言い方しないの。
Listen, Takeshi, don't be mean like that. I don't be anything like anything you are. You don't have to push and poke me. Exchanging stupid banter, we approached the bed. I did it on purpose, as a joke. But you see, Takeshi, jokes are supposed to be funny. You know, joke around, cheer her up a little bit. You understand, Takeshi, that Tsugumi doesn't like your jokes.
わざとどうだか
Really? I don't know.
あれ
Hey. The kid stopped suddenly. He was pointing at the bed in the back. What's the matter, kid? You discovered a new species or something? You found some more Homo habilis bones?
つぐみが
Tsugumi's
いない。
Tsugumi's gone. Well, you could say I called it, but I was kind of flippant about it. It wasn't a very serious call, so I don't know. What?
うえ
Wahoo? What? I ran to the bed in shock. Everyone followed behind me. She's gone. She's really not there. Is she like a Jedi? When she dies, she vanishes? The bed was completely empty. The covers were just the way they had been. So, kind of like Jesus. The pillow was the same. Both the IV tube and the heart monitor had been torn up and scattered around. Oh, torn up and scattered around. So they're kind of like the face cloth. Anyway, if you don't understand what I'm referring to, when the disciples ran into Jesus' tomb that Sunday morning, the cloth, the Jews wrapped a bunch of cloth around him, and they put a bunch of fluid in the cloth so it kind of turned to a hard kind of structure. And then you put a cloth over the face. The face cloth was often folded up in a corner. The rest of the embalmings were not. They were done hastily, of course, but they wrapped him in something, right? They weren't torn up. They had they're just there as if the body disappeared out of them, right? So the blanket is not flipped off the bed here. It's there as if she kind of disappeared out from under it. I don't think that's what they were kind of going for, because they said that the IV and the heart monitor were torn up. But I just kind of well, okay. I mean, it's not flipped off the bed, right? It's still bridging across where her leg would have had to go under it. What the? Why didn't Lemire pick up on this? Does this Tsugumi not show up as a life form? She does. We've seen her dot on the screen, so... Yeah, that's not it. Lemire was monitoring Tsugumi's data, right? Right? What happened?
知らないわよそんなこと。
I don't know. I have no idea. She averted my eyes from mine. Hey, look at that. She pointed to the corner of the room, her finger trembling a little. Oh no, is it Tsugumi just kind of sitting there? The cord had been torn off the medical computer and the monitor had been smashed to pieces. Like, you need to smash the computer, not the monitor. Like, oh well. There had been an electrical short and there was a burning stench around the area.
一体誰がこんなことを。
Who could have done this? That's what I'd like to know.
ねえ、あれ、何？
What's that? This time Coco had found something. Under the computer console there is some bandages and a long, skinny case of some sort. A white hard case.
これってもしかして。
Is this... It's Tsugumi's brace, right?
間違いない。つぐみのだよこれ。
You're right, it's Tsugumi's.
ってことは、
Which means... Tsugumi. Period. She took off her own brace and smashed up the computer. She got out of bed, smashed the computer, and then left the room. My thoughts leaped right out of my mouth. It was hard to believe.
そうなの？
Really?
ココがサンドを持ってきた時にはまだちょっと苦しそうにしながらベッドに寝てたんだよ。
But when I brought her the sandwiches, she still looked like she was in pain in bed. Well, that's the power of sandwiches.
本当につぐみんが。
You really think that Tsugumi? Well, what else could it be?
誰かがつぐみをさらっていったんじゃ。
Maybe someone ran off with her. Well, Sora can't lift people. Everyone else is here right now. I guess it couldn't have been Takeshi because... You was worried about something. Someone like who? Who was here besides us?
おかしいよどっちにしたって。
It's crazy either way. He was shouting. I mean, is there a cart or a crutch or something missing?
つぐみがあの足で歩き回れると思う？
How could Tsugumi even walk on that leg?
全治2ヶ月以上の重傷なんだよ。
It was a serious injury. It should take over 2 months to heal.
そもそもあの体でベッドから動けるはずないんだよ。
In fact, in her condition, she shouldn't even be able to get out of bed. No, she would have been able to get out of bed. I can say that for absolute certainty. She would have been able to get out of that bed.
コンピューターを壊したからってレミが何の反応も示さなかったのも変だよ。
And it's strange that Lemay didn't respond even if the computer is broken.
もし誰かがここに来てつぐみを連れ出したとしてもそう。
Even if someone had taken her out here.
部屋
Out
の
of
天井
here.
のセンサーが反応するはずなんだから。
The sensor on the ceiling should have picked it up. Well, Tsugumi is somewhat of a spy protagonist in nature.
どういうことなの？
What in the world?
ねえ、そしたら
Wait, then
つぐみどうなっちゃったの？
what happened to Tsugumi? Coco barely opened her mouth.
神隠しにでもあったのかな。
Maybe she was spirited away. That comes up again. But no, she smashed the computer. She wasn't, okay, he would say that she wasn't spirited away right out of the bed. She had to be spirited away after she smashed the computer. Or ate the monitor.
まさか。
Oh, please. Not that plot thing again. Spirited away means Tsugumi's time traveled. She, got out of bed, smashed the computer, and was like, okay, time to jump. But, how jumping, well, whatever. Tsugumi disappeared? We were all in shock. Everyone kept talking though.
神隠し
Spirited away?
そんなの信じられない
I don't believe that.
信じられない
I don't believe. Yeah, so so this is spoiling Never 7, but I have to do this to explain what I'm thinking about as I react to this part of this game. Spirited away, basically they thought some people got spirited away. But what they thought was being spirited away was just traveling forward in time. So that's why, so like if you were to copy those rules over to this game, you'd say if Tsugumi disappeared, that means she traveled forward in time. All of the color had drained from use, but in Ever 7, though, you retain the injuries, I believe. I would think you would retain the injuries when you did that, because so she would still be injured forward in time. All of the color had drained from Yu's face as she absorbed the enormity of what had happened. She was holding her chest, looking at the ceiling in a cold sweat. Calm down, Yu. Don't freak out on me, take deep breaths. Well, Yu, one of Yu's characterizations is that she is a walking freakout. Voice-acted breathing. She breathed in and out slowly. Oh, that suck in like saturated my mic, maybe. A little color came back to her face. But the question was what to do about the situation. What to do? Hey, I know. We'll ask Sora. Where is Sora? She ought to know what happened, right? You looked at me with a glimmer of hope.
そうだよねわかった呼んでみる
Yeah, you're right, let's call her. Except, why wouldn't she have appeared yet? We rushed over to the Limit terminal in the corner of the room. Standing in front of the console, you began operating the panel.
レミが気づいてないってことは空もまだつぐみがいないことに気づいてないかも
If Limit hasn't realized it yet, that may mean that Sora doesn't know yet either. But call her anyway, it's faster to ask her than to go on a blind search.
そうね
You're right. Before long, there was a change in the terminal. Sora's image floated up in the monitor.
どうしましたか
Yes?
空大変なのつぐみが急にいなくなっちゃって
This is where Sora goes, oh, yeah, sorry about that, I didn't inform you. Sora, something terrible has happened. Tsugumi is missing.
え本当ですか
What, are you sure?
救護室のモニターに異常があるとは思っていたんですが
I thought something had happened to the monitor in the room, but, I didn't think that was that important.
異常は分かってたの知らせてくれればよかったのに
What, you didn't tell us?
すいません先ほどからひどいジャミングがかかっていてご連絡が遅れました
I'm terribly sorry. There has been terrible jamming, and it has delayed me. Oh, Tsugumi did some sort of jamming as well? I mean, if we're going to argue that Tsugumi set up this whole situation, giving her the capability of doing so is evidence of that. Jamming? What's that? Well, have you ever stubbed your toe?
電波妨害
Electromagnetic interference.
部屋の状況は皆さんその部屋にいらっしゃるんですか
How is the room? Is everyone there? Yes, other than Tsugumi, we're all here.
実は今救護室の様子が私の目には見えていないんです
Because actually, my eyes aren't working.
ですのでちょっと確認に手間取ってしまって
So I wasted time trying to confirm.
安心して空みんな無事だから
Don't worry, Sora, we're all right.
すぐにこっちに来られる
Can you come right over?
ええわかりましたこれからそちらに行きます
Yes, of course, right away. Sora disappeared from the monitor. And instantly she was standing in front of us.
立ち位置は合ってますか私の映像ちゃんと出てますよね
Am I standing in the right place? Can you see me all right? Sora looked worried. You're fine. You really can't see?
回復しつつありますがまだ少しおかしいです
It is getting better, but there is still something wrong.
ジャイロで皆さんの位置はなんとなくわかるんですが、向きが。
I can tell approximately where you are standing, but not which way you are facing. She was talking to a spot just next to me.
ソラ、救護室につぐみがいないの。他の部屋を探せる？
Sora, Tsugumi is not in the infirmary. Can you search the other rooms?
やってみます。これから全館に生体反応スキャンをかけます。
Let me try. I'll do a bioscan on the entire building. She put her hands on the limit terminal and started accessing it right away.
ね
Hey, hey.
え、ユウたち、誰と話してるの？
Who are you guys talking to? The kid asked so fearfully from over by the bed. We left the infirmary. Sora was bewildered by the sudden sensor trouble. It was taking her a few minutes longer than usual to finish the bioscan.
さっき、空から僕らが見えなかったり、僕が空を見ることができなかったりしたけど、
Sora wasn't able to see us, and sometimes we couldn't see her, so...
救護室のベッドのあたりから下限圧室に降りるリフトまでの天井のセンサー類が一時的に故障してた？
Does that mean the ceiling sensors from the bed over to the elevator are all temporarily broken?
そのせいで空の調子が悪かったみたい。
Yeah, that's what's affecting Sora.
非常用の通路から部屋の外に出たんだね。
So she left through the emergency corridor. Yeah, but she, Tsugumi, was kind enough to leave candles burning for us. When we had found the emergency flares in the elevator, I was completely shocked. She wanted to keep us away that badly?
お待たせしました。検索結果が出ました。
Sorry to keep you waiting. I have the results of the bioscan. After a delay, Sora appeared in front of the infirmary. And where has Tsugumi hobbled off to? She couldn't have gone far. In any case, we would find her, and when we did, we would figure everything out.
愛がドリッドシュトックに降ろされています。小町さんは隔離区画の先をゆっくり移動しています。
An EI has gone down to Dritte stock. Tsugumi is slowly moving past the isolated sector. EI, the neutral buoyancy elevator. And she's going down to where she thinks there's another floor underneath Dritte stock. Oh, this is happening. If we call it, EI will come to us, right?
はい。
Yes. Okay, I'll run over there.
ちょっと蔵なり？
What? Hold on, Takeshi.
あの区画には愛でしか出入りできないんだから、しばらく待ってれば。
You can only enter and exit that sector using EI. So you just wait a little. We can't let her be out there. What if her injury gets worse? Why couldn't she just stay in bed?
あ、蔵なり。
Hey, Takeshi.
倉成さん。
Takeshi? I left them there and ran out. The buoyancy elevator is right nearby. I pushed the down button and called the elevator. The lamp lit up, letting me know that it was working normally. I sprang in when the double doors opened. The doors shut quickly and it started going down. If she doesn't use EI, she can't get up here. Until I get there, she definitely can't leave the sector. Alright. Watch out, Tsugumi, because here I come. I cracked my knuckles. She was always acting tough, but I bet she was bawling by now. I figured her leg would be killing her. She'd gone so far she probably couldn't get back where even if she wanted to. This guy. Maybe she was regretting it. What I really wanted to do was get in a couple good wisecracks to pay her back for all the hard time she'd given me. But I also felt a little sorry for her. Just a little. Great. The doors opened. I mean, he's kind of right that Tsugumi has this big ego complex, but it's like, that's not what you would treat her based off of. Or how you would treat her. Like, you wouldn't, that one shouldn't dominate how you treat her. Like, he's trying to, like, break down her pride complex. That's just being a jerk. The stale air of the isolated sector, because it basically shows that he also has a pride complex. Like, acknowledge me. The stale air of the isolated sector on the third floor flowed into my lungs. Next to the elevator I had ridden in, another elevator was still stopped. The elevator with a hole blasted in it. You couldn't even smell the stench of acetone anymore. Oh, that's just talking to me. I walked toward the end of the hallway, marshmallowing my wits. Or marshalling. I read that wrong. What's that? I realized that there was a room on the left side of the corridor that I hadn't seen during the power outage. Thinking to explore a little, I set my foot inside. A huge whale was stretched out. It said Cosmic Whale on the entrance. Oh, this part flooded, I think, in at the end. Okay, so the isolated sector 4 zone, there's two kind of like isolated sectors. This one you can only get to through EI, and then there's one more. I didn't know that the Cosmic Whale room was in the isolated sector, so I didn't know that was what flooded. Okay. Apparently that was the name of this attraction. I couldn't tell from a quick glance exactly what the attraction was. The whale floating in empty space. The whole scene was surreal. Was there an explanation written somewhere? Wait, I don't have time to waste like this. After making sure that Tsugumi wasn't there, I left through a different door. I quickly reached the generator room. The door said, Craftwork. I pushed open the door and stepped inside. The facility was giving off a steady but low hum and seemed to be working fine. For better or for worse, in the Mu, we didn't have to worry about the electricity. I looked around, but there was no trace of Tsugumi. Past the generator room, the corridor was completely blocked off by a partition. It was impossible to go beyond it. The only door left was the room to the right. I decided to go in there. I don't think there's a way to bring up the map in this game on call, so I don't recall if there's actually 3 rooms. Oh, anyway, in the isolated sector. The room was full of pipes, as is the pipe room. There's no sign on the door, but I supposed it would be called something like pressure regulation room or something. Actually, it would be in German, but yeah. I assume that the pipes must be connected to the boilers and the turbines in the generator room. Come to think of it, Tsugumi had done the repairs in there. I remembered her closing a valve right when her tools spread around her. They pop up her sprite, just to spook it startled me a little bit when they popped up the sprite. But maybe it's supposed to be it's like is that a reference, or they're gonna be like, oh, like on the next line following that ... Huh? Oh, she was there. Okay, so it wasn't just a reference sprite. Leaning in just like the time before. She didn't have any tools. She wasn't closing off a valve. Instead, craning her neck, she seemed to be looking over to the other side of the pipes. Hey, Tsugumi. What are you doing here? I pretended to be calm. I thought to proceed gently. I wanted to handle the conversation right. Well, you haven't been good at that lately, but let's see if you can pull it off this time. She stood up slowly and looked my way. You looking for something?
別に
No, not really. She stepped back as if she were keeping watch over me. I could tell she was agitated. She hadn't expected to see me. Her gaze didn't fix on anything. Her eyes kept flitting to the pipes behind her. Her gaze. It bothered her. It bothered me. What's behind you?
ない
Nothing?
何にもない
There's nothing behind me. Really? I casually tried to angle around so I could see the pipes behind her.
来ないで
Don't come near me.
近づかないでよ
Don't get close. What? She... The suggestion is she's trying to kill herself again? She changed position. She didn't want me to go behind her. Oh. She had taken another step back and knocked something off. Clang, clang, plunk. Along with a small splash of water, several screws or nuts fell into the crevice between the ducts. She quietly looked around. Favoring her right leg, she slowly turned. With her back to me, she looked further back into the room. Then took a relieved, if amazed, breath. I managed to drop them in time. What's going on? Then, pushing me aside, she tried to head out of the room.
どいて。邪魔。
Move. You're in my way. Hey, Tsugumi?
邪魔しないで。
Don't bother me. Dragging her right leg, she tried to leave. Wait. I put my hands on her shoulders, but she shook them right off.
触らないでよ。
Don't touch me. She glared at me without trying to hide her annoyance.
邪魔だって言ったでしょ。
I said you were in my way.
ほっといてよ。
Leave me alone.
どうして私につきまとうの？
Why are you following me? She spat the words out all at once. But I didn't let up and fired a question back at her. What are you doing here? Are you looking for something? Or are you finishing up some repairs? You won't answer stupid questions, is that it? What?
そういうあなたは何しに来たのよ。
What are you doing here yourself? And take a little break. Okay. What are you doing here, Takeshi? Anyway.
人がどこで何してようと勝手じゃない。
I am free to do what I want, where I want. She was trying to make a wall of words. Listen, searching for a way to reach her. I just came out of basic human decency. It's not like everyone's happy about the way we keep doing things. Because my injured friend suddenly went missing, that's why. Of course I came looking for you.
仲間。
Friend. Her expression grew more and more severe.
頼んだ覚えもなければ言われもないわ。
I didn't ask for you to come, and there's no reason for you to be here.
私は他のみんなとは違うの。
I am not like the others.
勝手に仲間扱いしないでくれる？
Don't treat me like one of your gang. Which is kind of like the lines attributed to her in the opener. But I think it wasn't don't treat me like you're like one of your gang. It's like don't think I'm your friend or something. So like translated a little bit different in different places. Maybe because a different team translated this. So maybe this is it's the language in the Japanese is not exactly like friend. It might be actually like gang. All right, I get it. You are so unbelievably selfish. I thought about pretending to raise my fist, but didn't do it. Even if I did, she probably wouldn't flinch. Believe me, I don't want to be friends with someone like you. But we don't have a choice. We all want to get out of here. Don't you want to get out of here as soon as possible? As long as we're in the same boat, we're friends. In Japan, people with the same goal are called friends. Huh. So, in the Japanese, does it say in the USA, people with the same goal are called friends? No, there might be.
仲間？
If I would guess that it just says Japan in Japan. Of course, you don't pronounce it like that.
仲間、仲間、仲間、仲間。
Friends, 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 friends.
またそう。あなたはそんなことを言ってばかり。
There you go again, saying friends.
そういう慣れ慣れしい偽善的な関係、吐き気がするの。
That kind of tired, hypocritical crap makes me sick.
それからもう一つ。
And one more thing.
あなた、昨日私が言ったこと聞いてなかったの？
Aren't you listening to me yesterday?
私は脱出したいなんて思ってないから。
I don't want to escape.
だから、仲間なんかじゃないの。
So I'm not your friend.
日本でも、ドイツでもアメリカでも同じ。
I don't care if you're from Germany, America, or Japan, although I don't know what America has anything to do with this.
いい？
Got it?
私は、仲間じゃない。
Me. Friend, not. Is probably what that is. Yeah, it's like Chonin Shinguga Anibnida. Look, that's not Japanese, but whatever.
だから、もう二度と、話しかけないで。
Okay, so don't talk to me again.
どいて。
It's not Absibnidat, it's Ansibnidat, right? I don't know how to pronounce that stuff. Anyway, I moved aside. Giving me a glance, she moved towards the door, dragging her foot. She was moving awkwardly, still dragging her left foot. Left foot. Left foot, left stomp! Left foot. Did I say left foot? What? It is true. Like, it was her right foot. It's her right leg that got injured. Now I have to figure this out before they reveal it. Like, I thought that, like, maybe what they would do is she would miraculously get healed. Like, she just somehow heals real fast or something. But they did something even weirder. They decided to make her mirror image her body. What? Does her heart now, you know how your left ventricle is bigger than your right ventricle? Because, let's see, because that's what pumps blood to the rest of your body as opposed to what just pumps blood to your lungs. So your heart's not symmetric, right? It's kind of tilted to your left side, if I believe correctly. So it's like, does her heart now heart now biased the other way? I've heard arguments that the brain is also not symmetric. I don't want to go there. Whoa, wait a second. I yelled with all my might.
何よ、話しかけないでって言ったでしょ。
Nanny! I said don't talk to me. She turned around forcibly. Your foot.
え？
What? Your foot? Is it all right? The leg you hurt the other day was your right leg, wasn't it? Her face stiffened. So she injured the other leg. Oh, it's even worse, okay. Her eyes flicked away. So they're going to make a simple explanation. She just injured the other leg too. She averted her gaze. She stood rock still. She forgot she was trying to pretend, or okay, like just throwing all kinds of things out there. One, there's weird body mirroring in this game, which would be kind of out of character because they usually don't go that crazy. She injured her other leg. Somehow worse than her first one. She was only pretending to still be injured and was miraculously healed, but forgot which leg to pretend to be injured, and so therefore goofed up. Going on. Let me see. I grabbed the hem of her skirt and without hesitating yanked it up. And she just stood there and let this happen. Back. An immediate brutal slap. Tsugumi took off running. The sound of her footfalls fell faint, as did her shadow disappearing down the hallway. What was left was me, stunned. She had hammered my cheek. It might have broken teeth. I might have a nosebleed. She hit me so hard my brain rattled. That's called a concussion. But I didn't feel any pain. Compound fracture over the right thigh bone. Injuries requiring 40 stitches. And she could run a day later?
おかえりなさい、倉成さん。
Welcome back, Takeshi. Sora greeted me as I stepped out of the elevator into his Vitae stock. Thanks.
倉成さん、顔ちょっと腫れてます。
Takeshi, your face is swollen. Yeah, I know. Sora ready to compress for me back in the infirmary. I left the room holding it.
小町さんはもうしばらくしたらこのフロアに戻ってきます。
It seems that Tsugumi will come back to this floor in a little while.
ですけど、
But
もし彼女を見つけても、あまり責めたり怒ったりしないであげてください。
if we do find her, try not to get mad or yell at her. Huh?
少しの間、彼女の思う通りにさせておいてあげた方がいいと思うんです。
For a little while, I think it is best if we let her do as she wants. But why? I pressed the compress to my cheek. It started to hurt right about the time I had forgotten about it.
今の小町さんは相当ナーバスになっているんじゃないでしょうか。
Don't you think she might be quite nervous right now?
彼女には何か思うところがあって、
She's thinking about things.
いろいろ胸の内で考えていることがあって、
She's pondering all sorts of things in her heart.
今は誰の言葉も耳に入らない。
Everyone's words will fall on deaf ears.
今はまだ素直に聞くことができないんですよ、きっと。
She's not able yet to just listen, of course.
怪我のことはもちろん気がかりですが、しばらくそっとしておいてあげましょう。
You're worried about her injuries, but for a little while, let's leave her alone.
もし彼女の身に危険があれば、皆さんにすぐお知らせします。
If she is in any serious danger, I will let you know right away.
ですから、あと少しの間だけお願いします。倉成さん。
So for just a little while, please, Takeshi. All right. It's like that Billie Eilish song. I think therefore I am, I think is the title. Anyway. It's like, apply this song to Tsugumi as like a theme song. I know, aren't those like, do people make those YouTube videos where they probably get claimed just to oblivion, where, you know, you'd have a character and you just put a song on top of them. I nodded absent to Sora's earnest request. Nodded assent to Sora's earnest request. I went slowly down the stairs of Drite stock. My footsteps echoed quietly.
小町さんがここにいるのは偶然ではない気がします。
I don't think it is an accident that she came to be here. Yeah, we could tell for a while that there is she knows something about the orchestration and maybe took part into actually setting it up, or came to Lumut because she knew it was going to happen and intentionally got herself caught up in it because she's trying to infiltrate something. Sora continued speaking right next to me. Not an accident?
詳しいことは私には分かりません。
Don't know the details.
私は今まで彼女のような事例に出会ったことがないんです。データがありません。
This is the first time for me to encounter a case like hers. I don't have any data for this.
ですが、小町さんは確かに何かしらの事情をお持ちのような気がするんです。
And it seems to me that she has her reasons.
たやすく触れることのできない事情。
Reasons that are difficult to explain.
他人には容易には理解することのできない何か。
Something that is hard for others to understand.
彼女が足の怪我を押してでも行動しなければならないほどの理由。
Something that compelled her to act even if it made her injuries worse.
それを感じるんです。
That's what I feel.
先ほど田中さんも同じようなことを言っていらっしゃいました。
Earlier, you was saying the same thing. You was?
ええ。
Yes.
だからあまり踏み込んではいけない。本人に話す気がないのなら踏み込むべきではないって。
That we shouldn't probe. Not until she wants to tell us, we shouldn't press for information. I see. Maybe I had gotten a little too close to her boundaries. Boundaries she didn't want invaded. Like when you pulled her skirt up. whatever feelings and reasons she didn't want us to know about. Or just whatever's under her skirt that you didn't want to know. Well, I think literally because her injury disappeared, right? But most people don't like to have their skirt looked up. Was that why I was warned, harassed, and pummeled? If I thought about it that way, it made more sense. Well, maybe so. Maybe I came down too hard. Why are you using that expression? At last he reached the 3rd floor. I had heard from Sora that you and the kid were holed up in the control room because she wanted to figure something out. She said that Coco and Pee-Pee had gone off somewhere on a walk. I wonder where they went. When I asked Sora that, she put her finger to her lips and smiled.
各自自習時間ってことでいいんじゃありませんか？
Shall we say individual study time? So she went to the cosmic whale room? Okay. We were the only ones in the conference room. Wait, isn't the cosmic whale room going to flood? Uh-oh. That's where Tsugumi could be? Uh-oh. Study time. Sora turned over the observation of Lemieux to the automatic Lemieux control system for a few hours. That would ensure Tsugumi and you some privacy. And give Sora a break too. So there she sat in a chair in the conference room looking at the whiteboard. I stood at the whiteboard, my dry marker in hand, playing professor. A private lesson one-on-one. The reason that we started that was Coco and the kid were giving rave reviews of Yu's speech. What was it like? I asked her, but she wouldn't tell me. Takeshi, do you know? Well, yeah, but it's not like I had the whole thing memorized. I know I'll give you a lecture just as good, no better than Yu's. And that's how it started. This title of my lecture was The Psychology of Love. No! 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 I was playing to the crowd, but I hadn't decided what I would talk about. It was all ad-lib. Let's see, this is not a good... Oh. I have to read this, don't I? Well, let's get it over with. When is your birthday, Miss Akane Gasaki? I would just choose a random starting point.
倉成さんどうしたんです急に。
Takeshi, what do you... No, 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 no. I wagged my finger in front of my face. Then I pointed at Sora and said, Miss Akane Gasaki, Professor Takeshi. I said and pointed at myself. Okay, it's probably some like San Chun Kun thing going on here. Comprendes this Spanish going on here as well, okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay. So they decided to use the English okay, so I guess in the English translation they had to use OE, which is not English. She nodded.
倉成先生。
Oh. Last name Sensei. Okay, so it's Sensei is being translated professor. Very good. Once again, when is your birthday, Miss Akane Gasaki?
レミは1992年9月16日から開発が始められました。
Development of Lemieux started on September 16th, 1992.
プロトタイプが完成したのが2000年の10月です。
The prototype was finished in October of 2000. That was when Ever17 was released. Maybe somewhere around there.
空 RSD システムが稼働を始めたのはそれから11年後の4月。
Actual operation of the Sora RSD system began in April, 11 years later.
ですので私は2011年4月2日生まれということになります。
Which means that I was born on April 2nd, 2011. 2011? Oh my, that is a very young student you are. What a very young student you are. Wait, you're only 6 years old?
いえ、私は24歳です。
No, I'm 24. How's that?
理由はわかりません。
I'm not sure of the reason myself. That was just the number they programmed in.
去年も一昨年も3年前も4年前もずっと24歳でした。
This year and last, even 3 and 4 years ago, I've been 24.
生まれた時から私は24歳なのです。
I've been 24 since I was born.
設定上の年齢ではありますが、
Of course, it's just my programmed age.
実際、私は人間のように老いることはありませんから。
I don't actually age like humans do.
したがって、おそらくこれからも永遠に24歳のままなのでしょう。
So I'll always be 24. Eternally, I'm afraid. I don't know if there's a cultural thing about 24, but it is 17 plus 7, if you want to relate it to the game title numbers. I have to admit, it would have been strange to hear her say I'm 41 looking the way she did. Okay. They must have predicted that such a time would come and fixed her eternally at 24. Okay. I see, then I shall accept that you are 24, Miss Akanigasaki. In that case, I think that you should learn the appropriate behavior for someone your age. Just get through this, Mr. Litter.
あのー、
She cocked her head to the side, a little bewildered.
つまり、私は今、24歳らしくないということですか？
You mean I don't seem 24 right now? Yes, that is exactly my point. Your average 24-year-old is, or how can I say, has a bit more sparkle. Oh my gosh.
ギラギラですか？
I mean, I know there's stuff like this in the other Uchikoshi games, but it's not like this, you know what I mean?
T ゾーンをもう少しばかりテカらせた方が現実味があるというご指摘でしょうか？
Are you saying that my face should be more shiny? No, that's not what I mean. 24 is when you start thinking about marriage.
はあ、結婚ですか。
Why? That's an arbitrary rule. Marriage. Some people think about marriage when they're like 12. Other people don't until they're like 30. You become friends with someone at 24, then date for a few years, and marry around 26 or 27. For some reason. That's the key, marrying into Mula. Except there's only so much Mula to go around.
白金税？
Mula?
酵素の一種でしょうか？
Does that have to do with cows? No. I guess my reference was a little dated. Listen up, you're asking too many questions. Be quiet until your teacher stops talking. I'll take all questions at the end, alright? Sora nodded silently. Ahem. Now then, to go back to what I was saying. Sparkle means it's the gleam in your eyes as you frantically search for the object of your affection, all, of course, as a preamble to getting married. That is what I am speaking of. Until 23, you choose a man who will be an appropriate boyfriend. After 24, you choose a man who will be an appropriate husband. You might think that an appropriate husband would be one who promises a bright future. But to borrow the words of the ancients, it all comes down to 3 heights. Height education, height salary, height in stature. That would be the ideal individual. You think there's really guys like that out there? If you're feeling greedy, you might also look for someone who's kind and handsome and cares more about his family than his job. In other words, what? You could search the whole world and never find a guy like that.
先生、血圧が上がっているようですが。
Professor, you seem upset. Sorry, I'm a little dramatic. I don't know if that's intentional, but if it was good. Okay, excuse me. So because of all that, it's like violators, no parking, except for chili customers. Violators will be persecuted. Except I think Chili says violators will be crushed and melted. So because of all that, the 24-year-old woman can be very severe creatures. Clever and calculating. And in order to bring down her prey, she must have the social skills of a little devil. Do you understand? She cocked her head. I wanted to sigh, but I pulled myself together to make a declaration. Well, perhaps it is better if you put this theory into practice. Let us try it.
はい、倉成さん。
All right, Mr. Takeshi. You forgot to say sensei. Sensei.
倉成先生、なんとかやってみます。
Yes, Sensei Takeshi. I'll try my very best. No, 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 no. That kind of talk is a no-no.
はあ。
Huh? No, yes, I will try my very best, but... More you know, devilishly. Coquettishly. I don't know that word. Too much French borrowed from French and then borrowed from English after being borrowed from French into Japan and being translated back into English nonsense. 1, 2, 3, go.
んなもん急にできるわけねえだろ。ぶっ殺すぞ、てめえ、こら。こけっこ、パタパタ。
The hell? See if I can do something like that right away. I'll kill you, you bastard. Bwah, bwah, bwhack. No, that's all wrong. That's not devilish, it's downright demonic. And that's not cottonly, that's poultry.
最初から難しすぎますよ、先生。
Sensei, this is a bit too difficult for me to start with. Really?
そうですよ。
Yes. Alright then, how about you start by not speaking so formally?
はい、そういうのがいいです。そういう簡単なのが。
Okay, this is probably something that comes across way easier in Japanese than in English. Like, I know that in like Korean, your formality comes with how you like form the ends of your verbs. Like this, though, they have to somehow. But English doesn't have formality levels at all. So, I mean, the most you can do is use the French borrowed word as opposed to the English native word to make things sound a little more formal, or the Latin borrowed word. That's it. So. It's hard to like translate this kind of thing. Yeah, something like that will be better. Something easier. Using the same example. Yes, I'll try my very best. In casual conversation, this would be, sure, I'll give it a try.
うん、やってみるよ。
Sure, I'll give it a try. See, you can do it if you try. Sora's face was lit up with a smile.
なんだか面白いですね。もっと教えてください。
This is interesting. Please teach me more. Well, I'll listen to that next time I record this. So. Save the game. Stupid scene. Then return to the title. Yes, save the system data. Skip the opener. Check where my scenes are. Okay. Pygmalion, that I guess was Yu's speech about Takeshi trying to falling in love with a machine. Spirited Away, that was Tsugumi. Suspicion, Tsugumi. 3 paths to Sora. I guess that's where we're now. 3 of them? Is that a hint? It's not in a Sora route, though. Like, we're still in Takeshi Trunk. So 5 to 26. That's 20. That's 22. You subtract and then you add 1. 22 Takeshi Trunk scenes so far. Kid 50 to 74. So the kid had 25 trunk scenes. Okay, so we're getting close to the amount of kid trunk scenes. There's only 3 more scenes to go. Okay, that's it.